Okay, hello everybody. This is my video of my love story of how I met my husband, the crazy Albert Spillman, for Angela's Valentine's giveaway. CHSM23 is the name of her channel. Go over and check her giveaway out and join it and have fun. Tell your love story. We all want to hear it. Okay. I was 18 years old, living at home with my mom and dad, and I was babysitting two little boys that were brothers, and their mom would bring them to the house for me to keep. Okay, so I was babysitting one day. Oh, let me back up a little bit, okay? Or should I? Should I do it that way, or should I tell it as it goes? I don't know, I may forget, knowing me. I'll continue. So I was babysitting one day, and it was kind of in the evening time, getting close to the evening time, to where the boys that I was keeping, their mom would come pick them up. So, and I was at the house by myself at this particular time. My mom had went to town. And, so I get a phone call, and that was back in the days that we all had home phones and no cell phones, you know, and no computers and stuff. Lord, I would have loved to have had a computer as a teenager and a kid. I missed out, I feel like. Anyway, just ain't fair. Okay, stay on track, shit. Alright, so I get a phone call. So I answered the phone, and it is my Aunt Irene, which was a crazy, fun-loving aunt. I used to spend the night with her all the time. She used to tell me stories when I was a little kid and sing songs to me, and I just enjoyed staying with her, and we would play games and just all kind of stuff. So anyway, but this is my mom's sister, one of my mom's sisters. And she's not with us anymore. She's done passed on, bless her heart. But anyway, so it was her on the phone. And I knew right away something was up. It was the way she said it. The tone of her voice, and the way she was saying it, I knew she was up to something. So when I answered and said hello, she just said, "Hey, what are you doing?" Kind of like that, in that kind of little voice. I can't do it just like she does. And like I said right away, I knew something, because that was not her normal way of just talking to me on the phone. Yeah, I knew she had something up her sleeve. So, I said, "Well, I'm just babysitting the boys." She knew, that I babysat. And she said, "Okay, well, what time will their mama come and pick them up?" Still doing that little tone in her voice, And so I told her, which I don't remember now what the time was or anything. But I told her, and she said, "Okay." She says, "Well, do this for me." She says, "As soon as their mama comes and picks them up, I want you to come to my house." And she said, "Go get dressed in something really nice, brush your hair back, and clamp it back in barrettes like you do for church." Because for church, I wish I had a brush here, but I would brush my hair back, and I would do my sides like this and clamp it back in little barrettes on both sides. I would kind of have like a little flair to it. And, but when I was at home and babysitting and all, I just left it like this, hanging down. I've always just liked leaving my hair hanging down. And she knew that. And so she was telling me, in other words, I've always been the sloppy, comfortable dresser. I never was a picky teenager primping and trying to dress up and fix my hair. You know, I didn't care about all that junk. So, and she knew this. So she was telling me, go brush your hair back and pull it back in your little barrettes like you do for church. And dress up in something, you know, a really nice skirt and shirt, and come to my house as soon as she picks up the boys. So I said, why? Like I said, I knew she was up to something, and she wouldn't tell me. She said, just come to my house. You'll see when you get here. Or at least, you know, it's hard to remember every little details. She may have told me. She may have said something like, I just got somebody I want you to meet, so just come to my house. Probably something like that, you know. And so I said, okay. And I figured it was a boy or something. So I did what she said. You know, we got off the phone and I continued to babysit. The mom came and got them. I probably started before she came and got them, and changed clothes and got dressed and brushed my hair back and clamped it up. And so the mom came and got the boys. So then I got in the car and I left and I went to Aunt Irene's house. Well, when I got there, it was just Aunt Irene. So, you know, she told me, she said, okay, I need to explain here. I have two cousins that are sisters, Tina and Melissa, and which they have another sister named Sissy, and they have a brother named Bo, and they have another sister named Amanda. We were all close. I was close with all of them, and I played with all of them. But at this point in time, Sissy was already married. I wasn't. That was the older sister, sorry. And of course, I don't think Bo was married yet, but I didn't get to see him as much. So Tina and Melissa, they were real close in age, and not Amber, Lord have mercy, Amanda was the younger one, and me and Tina and Melissa hung out a lot. So I would go spend the night with them. They were like 2 or 3 years younger than me or something, me and Sissy, because me and Bo were the same age. Sissy was a year younger than us. And then Tina and Melissa was about 2 or 3 years younger than me. And then Amanda was like real young. You know, we were 8. I was a teenager, 18. She was like 5, 6, 7, somewhere around in there. Amanda was. Okay, I'm going to make this a long story, I know. And I didn't really want to, but I can't help it. Y'all know me, I can't. I got to do every little detail. Oh. Anyway. So me, Tina, and Melissa, I'd go spend the night with them. They'd come spend the night with me. You know, I had a car. We would drive. We would go places, go to town, do stuff together all the time. So, I'm trying to think now. Let me think how I want to say this. Their daddy, the way we were cousins, and we were second cousins. What I'm saying we're like we're not anymore. We're still second cousins. They're all still alive. I'm not, you know, I didn't want y'all to think the way I was wording it that they've done passed on or whatever. They're all still alive. We are second cousins because their dad is my first cousin. He is Aunt Irene's son. So, and his wife he married is the aunt of Albert. Okay. So Aunt Irene told me that Kathy's nephew, Albert, you know, that she told me he's 24, he's in church, and, you know, in church good, he's a good boy. He has never had a girlfriend, and so he's, you know, we think y'all would be a good couple together, and we want to introduce y'all and let y'all meet. And she said, Kathy was here, but she had to leave for a few minutes, and she said, and even Albert, no, I'm getting it all wrong, y'all. I am so sorry I'm getting it all wrong. No, this is right. Yeah, this is right. Kathy was here and Albert was here, but they both had to leave for a few minutes, and they'll be back. And so I was just there, and I was visiting and talking with Aunt Reen. And so then Aunt Kathy comes in. I call her Aunt Kathy because of Albert. It's his aunt. He calls her Aunt Kathy, even though she married my cousin, so she's by marriage my first cousin, but I've always called her Aunt Kathy. Okay, so she came in then to Aunt Reen's house by herself, and she was explaining that Albert's going to be here in a little bit. So we waited around a little bit longer. It kind of took a little while, and finally Aunt Kathy said, you know what, I need to run to the store and pick up a few things. So she asked me, would I drive her to the store while we was waiting on Albert to come? So I said, sure. So we get in my car, and I drove her to the store, and she picked up a few things. And on the way back to Aunt Irene's from the store, just before we got to Aunt Irene's house, we seen his truck in her yard, and Aunt Kathy got all excited, and she said, oh, he's there. Yeah, good. So we drive up at Aunt Irene's, and we get out and go in. Okay, so the door, this is the front door of Aunt Irene's house. And it was right by, let me see how I can do that. This is the door. This is the inside wall of her house. And y'all are looking at it backwards, so I need to do this, don't I? Yes. Door. No. Wall. And she had her couch. I'm confused. No, that's the wall. It needs to stay up. She had her couch on this wall inside the living room, right there at the door. Do y'all understand? And so when you open the door and you walk in, the couch was right here, and he was sitting right there on that end of the couch, right by the door. Why y'all needed to know that little detail, I don't know. See how I am? So anyway, we walk in, and Aunt Kathy talks to Albert and introduces him to me. And I seem like I want to say we shook hands, but I can't quite remember if that's what we did, and maybe we didn't. Maybe we just looked at each other and spoke. You know, I can't quite remember. So we went on in, and I just sat down on the other end of the couch. And Aunt Reen and Albert was talking, and Aunt Kathy, I think Kathy went on into the kitchen and was putting up unloading the things she'd gotten at the store or whatever. She lived right across the road from Aunt Irene. And but I'd sat down on the end of the couch, and I was just basically sitting there staring at Albert and listening to him talk to Aunt Reen. And, you know, I was much shyer back then than what I am now. So I didn't speak or talk much, you know. And so I just sat there and stared at him. And, I thought I heard something. So, in a little bit, Aunt Reen looks at me and says, why don't you go fix him a glass of tea? You know, I could tell it was like she thought I should have thought of this and offered it on my own to him, and she's having to encourage me to do this. You know. Oh, Lord. Anyway. So, I get up and I go to the kitchen and I fix him a glass of tea, and then I come bring it to him, and I sit back down on the couch and sit there and stare at him and listen to him talk. Me and him don't never really talk. We don't never really, he never really looks at me, but I'm sitting there looking and staring at him. Not just really staring, but he's talking to Aunt Reen, so I'm looking at him as he's talking, listening to him, you know. So, and also, what I'm forgetting to tell y'all beforehand, my mom, when she had went to town, you know, I was at home babysitting, she had stopped by Aunt Reen's house, and she had met Albert, and she knew that they were going to introduce Albert to me. And then she went on to town, and I had left before she got home. I think she got home and was home when I got back home. So anyway, so we just sat there, you know, visited, and Aunt Rain and Albert and Kathy talked, and I just sat and listened and watched. So, finally Albert says, oh no, my battery's gonna die. That ain't what he said, but y'all give me a minute. Let me plug up my camera so it won't lose me here. If I can hurry up and get it in. And sometimes it goes right in, and then other times I cannot for the life of me get it to go in. Alright. Now get it set back up right. Did that make it? No. Let's do it back some more. Okay, so after a little bit, he says, well, I guess I better be going. And he gets up and he goes to the door. Now, you know, Aunt Reen had her door open, the wood door, and she had like a storm door. I want to say screen door, but it wasn't the old type that just had a screen on it. It would, you know, had that plastic window type thing they have on the storm doors. So she had that door closed and her wood door was open so you could look outside, you know. So he gets in the doorway and he stands there in the doorway, you know, on the frame, and he props up to where he's got one of his hands propped up, you know, on the door frame of the door. And then just, you know, he's kind of, I think he put his other hand on his hip and was just kind of, you know, that slanted stand that you do when you're propped up on something. And so he's still kind of talking. But, I mean, for the longest he stands there and talks, but every little bit he says, well, I need to go, and he even puts his hand on the doorknob to open it and go out and leave, but he never does. He stands there and keeps talking. And then they'll talk for a little bit more, and then he'll say, well, I need to go. And he, you know, I mean, it was forever like that, it seemed like. He never did want to leave, even though he kept saying he needed to go. And Aunt Reen laughed about that later, you know. He didn't want to leave. He liked what he was seeing. So anyway. And, you know, back then I was real skinny. So finally he does leave. And, you know, basically at that point I thought he was cute. You know, so I liked him that way. And then I enjoyed listening to him talk and what he talked about. It was, you know, interesting, and yeah, I would like to get to know him better. But really and truly, I did not really believe that anything was going to become of it. And you know what, I may have to do this in different because it's just going to be too long. I didn't think anything was ever going to become of it because I just really and truly, when he left, I thought that would be it and I would never see him again. And I had heard about him from Tina and Melissa. They had talked to me, I mean, like past, you know, in our past. Remember I said we hung out a lot and stuff, spent the night with each other. They would always talk about this cousin of theirs because he's their cousin too, you know. Their mama is his aunt. So they're first cousins. They talked about him all the time and how he was such a cool cousin and he had a lot of money and he didn't mind spending it. He still lived at home with his mom and dad, and they bought this house, a little cabin house on the river, and he added a room onto it, made it his music room, and he could play any instrument he wanted to and had all these instruments set up in there and blah 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 blah. So I had a picture of this Albert that their cousin they talked about. But then after I met him, the picture of what he looked like was totally different, because I had pictured him as a short, kind of chubby, not just fat, but kind of chubby little guy. He was tall and he was skinny. And then later, as I got to know him, the part that they had stressed out to me about him having a lot of money and not minding to spend it and fix things up and did this and that and the other, after I got to know him and I got with him, he don't want to spend no money. So that's different too. Guys, this is almost 20. I'm going to go and make this a different video, you know, in parts. Toodaloo until the next one.